Good evening. Welcome to another episode of Mothmanpodcast. We're coming to you over our Mothmanpodcast radio station, and also you can tune into our YouTube channel and see our YouTube audio takes of these podcasts. I'm Darrell Rourke, and I'm the Mothman, and here in the studios with me is...
Hi, I'm Amanda, the medium. And if you would like to subscribe, and comment on our channel, we would really appreciate it. If you would like us to come out and investigate anything paranormal going on in your house or business or whatever you got going on, we can come out and take a look and find out what is bothering you or what is haunting you. Please send us an email at all one word, mothmanpodcast@gmail.com. That's mothmanpodcast@gmail.com.
And also, be sure to like us and give us any kind of comment that you would like to on our YouTube channel. We're coming to you as an audio file at this time. In the future, you'll be seeing some video file. Due to technical difficulties that's beyond our control, we can't bring you the video at this time. So please, continue to listen to us. Now, tonight we're doing a continuation of last week's podcast, and on that podcast, Amanda was talking about how she came from being an atheist to where we're at right now in her religious state, and I'm looking forward to finding out how she came to become a medium.
So we're picking up where I was basically an atheist at this point. That happened for a few years, and moved into my dream house with my now ex-boyfriend, and things just started falling apart in our relationship. So I then moved out again, and my parents found this property for me. And I really think this property is important to my life. There's something really special about it. It's out in the countryside. There's a 100-year-old house that no one lives in. Next to the 100-year-old house is a trailer. And I lived in that trailer. And my parents were family friends with the people who owned it, and they rented it to me. And what I was told was that the family that lived there, they built that house in the 1920s, 1930s, and they lived there, raised their children. There's even a little dog cemetery in the back. I counted at least 8 dogs. There may be more. And the lady that grew up there, she loved living on that property so much. When the house was absolutely falling apart and completely uninhabitable, she put a trailer on the property for herself and her husband, and they moved into the trailer. They passed away just right before I moved in, I think about a year before I moved in. So I didn't know any of this when I moved there. I just was in complete chaos and turmoil. I was devastated at the relationship loss. I was devastated about not having a job at that point, and all kinds of crazy stuff going on in my life. And I began, I realized I've got to sort through all of this mess. It's like someone handed me a tangled web of string, and I've got to sort out each little string. So I started looking at my life and, what led me to this point? What is everything in my life that has led me to this point? And I examined everything, and some stuff was really hard to look at, but I really felt like this was such a purification of the soul process. I was completely alone, way out in the country on this property, and I was able to really think and go through every little piece of my life. And I also started studying quantum physics, And Darrell and I have talked about that in a previous podcast, quantum physics, that in quantum physics, one of the principles is that energy is neither created nor destroyed. So, that kind of opened me up to the possibility of, well, if we are energy, and we are, I mean, that's just scientifically true, we're energy. What happens when we die? Well, everything I looked at in terms of quantum physics said that, well, basically.
Now, when you say energy, excuse me for interrupting,
yeah,
Amanda.
No,
you're speaking of our soul and our mind and our thought waves. Is that correct?
No, I'm going on a deeper level than that. Really, energy. Like if you look at our atoms, the particles that actually make us up, they are energy. We basically are light. We give off photons of light, and if you can Google it, humans radiate light at a certain level. It's not perceptible to the eye, but it is there.
And also, now when you're speaking of light too, some people can see what is called an aura around a person.
Yeah.
And that's energy being given off by that person.
Mm-hmm.
And, I've told you before, I'm a certified hypnotherapist, and some of my training in hypnotherapy was, it's called concentration. And you do a lot of that too. You do a lot of meditation.
Mm-hmm.
And if you study a person and you really look at a person, and I don't know, it's kind of like, have you ever seen those pictures where you look and it's just a mass, and then you kind of focus on it,
the
and
ones
you
where
can
you have
see,
to kind of like relax your eyes,
right? And you can see the dolphins and all this stuff,
right?
It works the same way with people, in that and I can see this on some people, where I can see if they're upset. I see the red aura or the unclear aura around their body, or when they're real relaxed, I can see a greenish, bluish, around their head. And when I'm looking at them, I can also, it's one of those things where if somebody's, like I said, I've been a cop all my life too. I've been a cop more than most people have been alive, but especially in your generation. But I can see when they're trying to deceive people, in that they'll put off a funky color coming off of in their aura, where they're trying to, deceive, and they actually, I've studied their eye movements, and people looking up to the left, that's creative, and up to the right, they're trying to recall and that sort of thing. And we can go on and on about that also. But just when you speaking of energy, I'm just kind of rambling here with you. The aura that we put off is energy, and you were talking about it's breaking down into light. And some people can see this. Very sensitive people can see it, or people who have trained themselves to actually focus.
Yes, you can train yourself
and
to
focus.
do it.
You can.
Absolutely.
It's not something you can do overnight. You got to work on it. You got to learn how to control. You got to learn how to meditate. You got to learn how to. And we were talking about this too. I was saying, an audible person needs to hear a noise, and they can, to put themselves in a trance. They hear a certain noise, and they can put themselves in a trance with this noise. A visual person has to, and I like to say, we focus on an object and try to see through that object.
Yes.
And try to see something, and if we want to have happy thoughts, we try to see something in our childhood. Just take us back as far as we can go in our childhood, and see a scene that makes us feel comfortable, makes us feel secure, and that will help us get to the state where we can truly relax.
Right.
But here again, I'm just expanding a little bit on your energy.
That makes a lot of sense.
So I didn't mean to hit you off track, but let's go back to your beliefs in energy.
I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the things, I don't know if you've ever seen that video of the people playing basketball. They're passing a basketball. It's a group of people passing a basketball back and forth between them. and the video says, count the number of times the basketball is passed. Have you seen that video, Darrell?
No. No, I don't believe I've seen that one.
Oh my gosh, I have to show you that one. Because what happens, now I'm going to ruin it for you, and I'm going to ruin it for anyone listening. But what happens is you start counting the basketballs, and then the video ends, and the video says, how many times was the basketball passed? And you're like, I don't know, 15. And it says, that's not the point. There was a gorilla in the middle. And you're like, what? There wasn't a gorilla? And then you go back and you watch the video again, and there clearly is a guy in a gorilla suit who comes and dances in the middle of the group of people and then dances right back off. And it's the point of the video is to show that humans see what they expect to see. And with quantum physics, when I was learning about energy, I was learning that, so if I expect to see something different or expect to see more, I will see it. So going back to the aura thing, I saw my own aura at that point. It was a really pretty, like, clear and then blue around me. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. And then I ended up, it was during Hurricane Irma, and I volunteered with the Red Cross, and that was a really heartbreaking, difficult volunteer job. It took me many days to recover, but one of the people that we had in there was a lady who was traveling. She had come from Florida to North Carolina to visit family and was headed back to Florida. However, she kept telling people these really confusing, contradictory stories. She seemed like she was very confused in her mind. And I saw a really black, dark charcoal aura around her, and I was really concerned for her. And I tried to talk to her a little bit, and I went back to one of my leaders and said, well, what am I supposed to do here? And they said, we're here to offer comfort and food and conversation, and you can't fix people's lives. And that was really hard. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not, a caseworker of any sort. So it was really hard to let that go. But I did see her aura. And so I've only seen mine and this other lady's that just totally blew me away. But that's energy. And seeing that opened me up more. So, little steps. It was like little baby steps. The universe was leaving a little bread trail crumb. So after that, I was still very alone, still sometimes going through a lot of sadness, questioning, that kind of thing, and confusion at this point about, so I've seen an aura. So energy is real and it exists. And if energy is real and exists and we turn into a different state of energy when we die, then the afterlife exists. And I'm thinking through all these things, and I'm thinking, well, then maybe a supreme consciousness or universal being exists. So I remember I was meditating, and I opened myself up to, okay, God, if you're there, I would like to hear from you.
So, Amanda, you're now getting ready to take the next step, and I want to hear the answers to these questions and hear how she takes the next step. So please tune in to our next podcast here on Mothmanpodcast, and send us any comments you might have to mothmanpodcast.com, and you'll see our email address there is mothmanpodcast@gmail.com. So have a great holiday season, and